How much is it costing you to not be multilining as effectively as you could? So many insurance agency owners don't fully understand the impact of multiline sales on their overall growth of their business. A lot of the times, agency owners, especially if they're coming from career or captive situations, they're looking at it from a standpoint of hitting company goals. If I multiline, if I sell the life or the health or the disability or whatever it might be, then I'm going to earn more on my property and casualty, or I'm going to earn some other bonuses. And there will be all these different clubs with different names and different levels of achievement and pins and points and plaques and trips. And those are awesome. If somebody would give me more money to do my job and more pins and points and plaques and fabulous prizes and recognition, I'll take it. I got nothing against those. But I want to make sure I keep the main thing the main thing. And here's what it comes down to. In general, you're going to keep a client roughly 7 years for every line of business they have with you. That means a person who has auto insurance with you only is going to stay with you about 7 years. That is about a 14% customer defection rate, or lapse rate if you use that term. Or to reverse that, that's an 86% retention rate. Not bad. But if I can get that person who has the auto to also have a home, they are going to, on average, again, this is a rule of thumb, going to be with me 14 years. And that's about a 7% customer defection ratio or lapse ratio, which is a 93% retention ratio. All of a sudden, with one line of business added, I'm gone from having a customer be with me 7 years to 14 years. So I didn't just add a little bit of an extra product. I've doubled the products, and I've doubled the amount of time that customer is going to be with me. If the products have a similar payout, I've now 4 times the income that's coming to my agency for the lifetime value of that customer. Now we start talking about things such as, well, what about life insurance or disability insurance or health insurance or supplemental health or annuities? Same concept applies. If I can get a third line of business, that person's going to stay with me about 21 years. That's less than a 5% lapse rate or customer defection rate. That's over a 95% retention rate. And that person pretty much just isn't leaving me. And at this point, people say, well, then, okay, we need to make sure we get that life policy or that disability policy on the books, no matter what, any way possible, butts in chairs. Let's bum rush them. Let's bait and switch them. Let's tell them to come in for A, but try to sell them life for B. And it's like, whoa, no, slow down. The purchase of the life policy, the purchase of the disability insurance policy, the purchase of the health insurance policy is an indicator of trust and relationship built. The fact that they get a third policy on the books is not what makes them stay. So those agents that either sell something really quick, only based on a discount, they never explain the benefits, the person might quickly cancel that coverage because they never even understood it. And then again, I'm not against that way of selling, but if a person doesn't understand what was put on their policy, they might think, oh, they're charging more, they're trying to trick me. What happens that works is when you will invest the time with the customer to talk about their family, protecting them, protecting their income, protecting their legacy, their goals, their dreams, their kids' education, being able to make sure bills are paid if they become sick or hurt. In order to have that sort of conversation with somebody, you have to invest time with them. And you're risking that you might not get a commission. And that person knows that. And you also get to know that person more. You get to know more about them. And then you get to, if you do it in a beneficial way, give them recommendations or suggestions based off of where they're at. And now that person feels heard. And whether they can afford those recommendations or not, whether they actually buy that third policy line or not, the fact that you've done that multi-line review with them, that's what really leads to the customer staying with you longer and the customer knowing that they're never going to leave you without first checking. Not because they're loyal to you, which is great, and loyalty would be awesome, but I don't want loyalty. I want them to know that it is in their best interest and that they'll never leave. Because loyalty, they might say, well, my cousin writes business or my brother-in-law, or whatever it might be. I want it to be that they understand that there's no better place to get helped than with my agency, and that we are helping them look not just at protecting their stuff, but again, the identity of our agency, who we are, how we do things. We do not just identify as a property and casualty agency. We do not just identify as a multi-line insurance agency that also sells life and health and disability and maybe annuities or other products. We identify ourselves as insurance coaches, as people who are looking out for our customers in their best interests, that we're going to ask them about their goals and their dreams. And we're going to do that whether we sell financial service products or not. So it might be the case you say, Wade, I am just, quote unquote, or only an insurance agency owner. I've kept it simple. I'm doing property and casualty and life, health, disability. Great. I'm not doing financial planning or financial advising. Why do I care about my customers' goals and dreams? Because your customers don't want insurance. They want their goals and dreams. They want to put aside some money and have their goals and dreams taken care of and make sure that they're there to be present to watch their child graduate from college. They want to save for their college education of their child. They don't want to die to pay for their kids' education. But if something like their kids' college education is so important that they'll save for it with a financial advisor, whether that's you or someone else, if you ask them without in any way trying to manipulate them, chances are they'll say, you know what? Wow, if I'm not around, even more reason that I would want that there. So yes, I want the life insurance to pay for that college education if I'm not there. I want the disability insurance to make sure that if I'm sick or hurt and can't work, that I can still have the income to fund the college education and pay for those things. So sometimes people oversimplify customer retention and lapse rate. And yes, you can increase your customer retention. You can decrease your lapse rate with certain things such as making calls and double checking to make sure your customer is okay. And those are things that can help on a few points at a time percentage basis. And that's awesome. But if you really want to make a huge difference, make sure that you're looking out for all of your customers' needs. Make sure you're talking to them about their goals and their dreams and help them understand that yes, it's awesome to save for goals and dreams. And we might not even be in the business of helping with those particular products, but ultimately any plan is based on having some sort of backup plan. You buy your car, nobody wants to buy auto insurance, but you purchase the auto insurance because the bank, who usually or often owns the car, says, nope, you know what? You can't get the car unless I know that I'm going to get the car if something goes sideways, if something bad happens. You purchased a home, the bank says the same thing. So for our stuff, the banks, some of the wisest financial institutions, and I know people might debate that statement, but they still seem to be doing pretty well. Those institutions say, you've got to insure your stuff if it's my stuff, actually, if it's the bank stuff. So when it comes to our income, we want to make sure that's there. When it comes to our legacy for our loved ones, we want to make sure it's there. And so us being willing to invest the time to do that is going to help us. Additionally, it's going to help our customers do better with their goals and dreams. And finally, it's going to create that financial stability, the almost boring, repetitive, repeat income that is so awesome and so sexy about this business model, where customers realize, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't care about the new latest AI thing. I don't care if there's a new app. I know these people are looking out for me, my goals, my dreams, my family, my legacy. And so I'm going to go to them first. I'm always going to give them the first shot to get the business. And if they mess up, that's a different story. But I'm going to go to them first. I'm going to stay with them as long as possible. I hope you find this helpful. Sometimes our business model can be this simple. It very often is about doing sometimes the tougher things. It's not always about doing the fancy or the flashy things. If you've been around this business more than even 5 or 10 years, you've seen most of it cyclical. These are the things that will help you grow your business and continue to do it in the easiest way possible. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. As always, look forward to helping you create greater impact and income in less time with your agency and for your team and with your team. Do what you do best so you can fully enjoy your family, your friends, your freedom, and your life. Thanks for listening.